for Thursday, February 5th, 2026. First thing is roll call. Billy Davison, Todd Fagan, Christy Isaacson.
Here.
Mark Nanny.
Here.
Cheryl Sheriff here. Tori Tedder Laughlin.
Here.
Ellen Usry. Christy Wright. Here. Christina Wyckoff.
Here.
Okay. First item is consideration of approval, acceptance, rejection, amendment, and/or postponement of the minutes as follows. The Board of Park Commissioners' regular meeting minutes of November 6, 2025. Do you have a motion to approve?
I motion to approve.
Good. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Those minutes have been approved. Item 2, discussion items, consideration of approval, acceptance, rejection, amendment, and/or postponement of previously approved city council meetings. Items. Jason?
Oh, sorry. Kind of fell asleep. It's early to fall asleep in this meeting. I apologize.
Didn't realize I was already so boring.
Yeah. Go over our items that we've had since December, or December and January, since we didn't meet in January because our meeting fell on New Year's Day. The approval of both the reports submitted by Norman Youth Soccer Association and Norman Art Council to Park Board happening in December. Starting in January, we had a first reading of the guest tax and first reading of adding. There was 2 different readings, and all legal stuff. Don't really understand why we had to do it twice, but it was twice in the agenda on January 13th. Following that, we did do a presentation to you last time we met I believe, in the beginning of December about updating our Norman Forward master plans for certain parks. We did a resolution to set aside that money from the Norman Forward fund balance of about $113,000 for master plans for the multi-sports park that did not get built, but got split between both Reese Park and Ruby Grant this last time. This is to update that and get more input and maybe a slight site selection or a site recommendation. Update the Ruby Grant master plan, update the Griffin Park master plan, update the Reese Park master plan, and come up with future plans for both the YFAC and adult wellness projects. We also received money from the Wildwood Church for a bridge built on our property. They had to remove a lot of trees in that project, and they gave us a $6,100 check, and this is just allocating that back to our capital fund for trees so that we could respend that. We had to do that, and I think that happened way back in October, so it took us a while to get that ran through, but back into our tree fund. And then on January 27th, you see the second ordinances about the guest tax, which I'll have a presentation next over. And then we also had an ordinance calling an election for set aside $8 million for a homeless shelter. The reason, once again, that's on in front of y'all because we will run that project. We'll build that project for the city since it is a facility and Parks oversees facilities in the city of Norman. And then the last one that you see there was basically submitting to the Cleveland County Election Board all of the elections, which include both the election for guest tax and the possible homeless shelter. So love to answer any questions that anyone has about those.
Will you be responsible for just the building facility of the homeless shelter, or will you actually be responsible for the contracts as far as management stuff goes?
Operations and management of it will not fall to Parks. This is the overseeing of the construction and then the maintenance and custodial once it does open back up.
Yeah. Is there any other questions? Okay. Discussion regarding giving special recognition to honor former park commissioners and Jennifer Baker for their outstanding work to the Parks and Recreation Department and the City of Norman.
So I'll hit this one up real quick and try to make this super quick. As we went through here, and Carla probably can give me the names, but since I took over director, there have been several people that fell off the park board or park commission that we have not recognized. This basically goes up and I think there's 5 or 6 of them that cleans up that. We usually give out an award for service for those who served on the park board once they roll off. And Miss Jennifer Baker, she is not here tonight. This is basically a future recognition, which we would do it at City Council, not here, but she was recently got an award from the governor as a, I believe it was an award recognizing her work in the field of arts. So that's we're going to go back and she's going to be recognized at council, but we also wanted to recognize her from the park board and park department.
Okay. Item 4, room tax election update.
Also me. So let's, recently over the past, I would say we had discussions that kind of go back towards late summer when we started talking about updates to the park system, different playgrounds and different things in the park system that needed to be replaced. And finally, we did a presentation to the finance committee, and basically we could not recognize a fund to replace these playgrounds and a few other things. So the finance committee, the new finance chair, which is Councilmember Hinkle, asked us to come up with a few ideas of how we could get more funding for capital projects. We came back and talked about park impact fees, which are currently, y'all do go through there, and impact fees come along with any residential development that happens. We said that was one possibility of raising impact fees, but that would take up the cost of building a house or when a permit was built. And then another thing that we brought up, it was a possible increase in room tax. So council did give us basically wanted us to pursue that a little bit more. So as we dived a little bit deeper into this, it would be an update to our ordinances along with updating the ordinance of increasing the room tax from 8 to 10%. This would also add recreational vehicles. When you start talking about being a college town and having football games and a lot of the other SEC college towns, there are RV specific parks that go along with those, and evidently there are hundreds of RVs that do come and basically book nights at these specific RV parks. We do have one in the development phase right now. Council wanted to go ahead and add that to the ordinance. So RVs are in this question along with a portion that would increase the tax rate from 8 to 10%. The next slide, I believe, is, I think we did have the question on there, maybe it didn't get added, but this is as we started going in there and started looking at possibilities of increasing the rate from 8 to 10%. The first proposal scenario was if all the portion that went from 8 to 10%, what that would look like as we broke out in percentages if that all went to parks. So that would be 32.5%. If we did split one and the whole 2%, I know I'm starting to talk in percentage rates, but just imagining the percentage, when I start talking about 32.25%, that's the percentage of 100% of the total tax, but increasing the tax from 8% to 10% would, if you look over there on that graph on the left, right now 8% produces about $3.94 million. Raising the tax to a 10% tax would put it at about 4.9, so that brings in about $1 million total difference between 8 and 10%. And when we start talking about guest tax, I want to of course point out that if you live in Norman, or you're a permanent resident of Norman, or you stay here longer than 30 days at a hotel or an RV, you don't have to pay the tax. So if you're doing a long weekend with your soulmate or something happens to your house and you need a emergency visit over to any of the hotels in town, you just have to remind them that you're a Norman resident and the guest tax will be removed. But when you start talking about the increase to all these, we did come up with different scenarios. Proposal one was if all that 2% went to parks, what it would look like in the total that parks would receive. And then proposal two would be if we got back more to somewhat what was traditional split where Visit Norman got 50%. And it used to be where Norman Art Council got 25 and Parks got 25%. We are suggesting after discussion with both Norman Art Council and Visit Norman that we probably settle on the 30 or the 50-30-20 split. Which if you look at that pink box at the bottom, that would be what the total split out would be with that. And to go along, there's also, if I might add, there's automatic 4% that's taken off of that goes towards legal and the finance department for administrative fees that related to all their work that we do inside to basically make sure that all the hotels are paying this and the VRBOs and Airbnbs are paying their portion of the tax. You start looking at that, then Visit Norman would increase slightly along with what was proposed in that bottom 10% split. The Art Council would maintain the projected revenue, and then Parks would increase from about 600,000 to about 1.4. There are a few caveats that would be included into that portion. Visit Norman, which they currently still have, or as part of their current agreement. Visit Norman does set aside $150,000 a year for Norman Ford venue enhancements. We haven't used any of that money there, so we're now in year 2 and do have about $300,000 sitting there for a project once that comes in. To us that we can do to one of our Norman Ford projects. Also, to go along with this new proposal, you see there at the bottom, 2.5% would go to fund, of the parks portion would go to fund a permanent art, public art fund in Norman. This is something that's been asked for. We have attempted in a few different avenues that haven't been so successful. They have tried to fund public arts through utility billings where people would volunteer to basically donate $1 to $5 off additional onto their utility bills for public art. I think the most that, if I go back into the memory banks to try to remember, the most we ever got from that might maybe be about $7,000 in one calendar year. Wasn't too successful. They changed over softwares, and the new software wasn't able to identify that, so that one kind of died off. So when you start talking about 2.5% of the total percentage that would be bringing in, if it's at 4.9 million that you're looking at, about 2.5% of that is 118,000. So we would anticipate somewhere around $120,000 would be set aside, starting with for public arts, and of course that would increase as it goes on to the future. And we'll start looking at this and why we are kind of looking at asking for this. Go ahead, Mitchell. Well, first of all, let's start looking at comparables between other cities. So we looked at the top 10 by population of all the cities in Oklahoma and what their lodging taxes are. Norman was the first to go to 8.8%. Then quickly after that, both Oklahoma City and Midwest City surpassed us at 9.25%, and Moore last year came in right behind us at 8%. And you start looking at the other SEC cities, which are our comparable sister cities that we have there, and you can see that anywhere between like Tuscaloosa, well, I'm not going to try that again, Baton Rouge, Austin, all have very high lodging percentages. And I think that if we do go from our 8% up to 10%, we'll be right there, the fifth or sixth highest city in the SEC. So that'd be kind of right there in the middle where we would maintain our tax level, so it'd be pretty average, which is not terrible to be when you compare yourself to other cities. Go ahead, Mitchell. When you start looking at the park system as a whole, right now, we would take this extra funding that we get, which is somewhere in about $800,000 a year. That would be dedicated totally to capital projects within our park system. Right now, we are on an average get somewhere between $600,000 and $800,000 a year. That includes our hotel motel tax that we currently get, plus some of the other capital funding from the general capital fund that the city has. We currently kind of fight with 13 other departments to try to get that funding. This would set the park system by itself, where we would no longer be on the city's capital fund, which would free up money for the other departments, and also for things that are already included in the parks budget, which we do a lot of the beautification. When you start talking about bump outs, Main Street or medians on Main and Lindsay, the Porter landscape, all the roundabouts, those are currently counted inside of our capital needs, and that's included in that 800 to 1,000-ish we get a year. If this does pass, we would separate that. That would stay in still stay in the city's general capital fund, and now parks, the park system as a whole would end up with that 1.4 million. If you go back one more, so this is kind of what the well, you went forward, and then it's going back to that one, but the kind of the park system as a whole, we have 69 parks, about 1,100, almost 1,200 acres, 2 baseball facilities, youth soccer. We have a bike park, wilderness area, about ready to open up a storm and eco park. 55 playgrounds, which are one of the things that we have the hardest and most difficult things keeping up with, for recreation centers, for cultural centers, golf course, aquatics, tennis, 4 disc golf courts, trails, which is the #1 thing identified in the AIM master plan out of everything in the city that our residents want the most, and we have green belts. These are all things that would benefit from the capital projects, or from the 2% and being set aside on our own. Go ahead, Mitchell. Kind of in a nutshell, as we're talking to Norman Art Council and Visit Norman, they would like for that funding to mainly to be used on what we consider high visitation areas, or enhancements to trail systems, our community parks, our cultural centers, festival enhancements. So that would be all included on that list. I want to go over every single thing that's on there. We do have an asterisk by the public art program that would be brand new, set alone, where we work with all of our organizations that does public arts, and work with them to develop that program, along with our whole capital program. We would plan on working with those that run our cultural centers, to make sure that their cultural centers are staying up to date and current, and making sure those needs would be satisfied. So I think the funding would be well used. Go ahead, Mitchell. This is the total timeline. When you start talking about that, we did call the election on January 28th. Election for the guest tax would be on there with 7 total initiatives. On April 7th, the contract restructuring with both Visit Norman and the Art Council would take place after the election, and we would get that in place before July 1st, when that tax would go in effect. Super short and sweet. Love to answer some of these questions if anybody has those.
What is the, I mean, there's been definitives made between the Normal Arts Council and then public arts funding. I would have thought that the public arts funding would have been under Normal Arts Council.
So until recently, and 3 years ago, there was a public art board, which is actually a board of the city, that the arts participated into that did our public art. Once that got changed over, it changed into a Norman Arts, Norman Public Art Board, and then that moved over to the Art Council. Now, they still didn't have any of their separate funding. So all the funding that goes to Norman Art Council is distributed amongst a plethora of different art agencies that ask for grants from Norman Art Council. There is currently not any of that currently goes to public art that's set aside from the Art Council, because that's all divided up amongst all the public art groups.
So like Firehouse and Sooner Theater, they go to the Norman Arts Council for,
Some of their funding, it's a portion of their funding. They also get funding
they get
from the
funding
city.
from city too?
Yeah.
Okay.
So the proposal 1 and proposal 2 have increased percentages for parks, 32.5%, 30% from 15.6 under the current rate. Will those percentages increase even if this 10% tax doesn't go through?
No. If the public votes no on it, all the contracts will stay the same. So, and to clarify, the question that will go before the voters is a question to increase the gas tax from 8% to 10%, along with adding RVs, recreational vehicles, to that. So everything else is worked out between the three groups, which is Visit Norman, Norman Art Council, and the City of Norman Parks Department, and is all done by contract. So if there's no increase, there's no need to change the contracts.
Because that would be nice.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's, you know, if that's the case, I think if Normanites knew that, maybe they might be more inclined to vote for that. If they knew what was going into parks.
And that's something that we hope to do, is do a lot of educational pieces during this process, and we have 60 days to do it, to get out news and try to educate the public. And we're going to try to do the best we can. And I'm going to sharpen up my presentation a little bit and hit the road and do a bunch of our civic groups and try to spread the news as much as possible. But yeah, to set aside, to be frank, I mean, when you start talking about this whole conversation surrounded about kid space, or started with kid space and Lions, and when you talk about replacing kid space, it's $1 million playground. When you look at Lions, which got taken out by the playground out there, got taken out by a heavy rain, the turf floated and made the playground unusable. We would very much like to move the toddler playground out of that area, so when we do get a high rain, it's not in a flood-prone area. To do any playground in, one of our, what is not one of our bigger community parks, that playground replacement is $250,000 to $300,000, and we just don't have it. And then we aged out worked through there and tried to age our playground system, or our park system, all 55 playgrounds. The average age of our playgrounds in our park system is currently 18 years old, and the ideal life of any playground is about 15, and that's when you start, first of all, your ADA changes, technology changes, you start losing the ability to order replacement parts. You shouldn't be mixing playground brands, because then you open yourself up to all kinds of liability actions. And just, I mean, our neighborhoods, which are the heart of every neighborhood, I like to think, is the neighborhood park that's in there. And they deserve, every generation probably deserves a better playground than the generation before, and we're not able to do that right now. So it's very tough to keep up with that.
Yeah, that's got to be advertised, because this was the first I heard about this.
Who determines which proposal you go with?
The city, so we've talked to the three groups, and what we're looking at, the city's going to propose, or staff will propose that proposal 2.
Is that just a city council item
And
then?
the city council would have to
Okay.
confirm that contract,
Okay.
or those contracts with each one of those agencies.
And you guys are leaning to,
Yes, ma'am. So what specifically, what's your question on mine?
I mean, they're very, very close, obviously.
Yeah.
The only difference is between Visit Norman and Parks. Visit Norman stays the same at 22.5 with proposal 1, and we get 15, $1.5 million, I guess, with this, in this example, yeah. So I'm just wondering I'm just wondering why the 2.5 moved to Visit Norman. I mean, no judgment, I was just.
No, good question. So the 2.5 that moved from proposal 1 to proposal 2, the conclusion came with that $150,000 that's set aside for Norman Ford enhancements, so that Norman Ford enhancements right there is more than that 2.5%.
Wait, what?
Okay.
The caveat that's down there. So the $150,000 that's set aside for Norman Ford enhancements is worth more than the 2.5% currently.
So,
The 2.5% is worth about $118,000.
okay, so in other words, if it had been left in
The proposal
Parks,
one,
we would have only gotten 118 for Norman
yeah,
Forward
we traded
enhancements.
$118,000 for the
150,000.
Yeah.
So am I reading that timeline correctly in that the January 28th second reading has occurred and there is a call to an election that will happen on April 7th? So
Correct.
That's already done?
Yeah.
Yes.
So I guess my question then is, you mentioned this briefly, but in what ways are you going to get the positive word out to try to convince the residents that this is the way forward, the best vote?
Good question. The first thing that you're going to see is that the city is going to send out a mailer to every single household that has all election about, there's 7 propositions on there, and got the street bond, the guest tax, Proposition 3, I'm trying to go back through there in the mind of, there's a couple charter questions, and then there is the homeless shelter question. So that's going to be all fit onto this mailer that's going to go to every single household. And then we are working, trying to work with a separate group to work on the education portion of this, that we will also send out specific mailers on educational pieces to the registered voters after that kind of educates them on this. And we'll also do social media notifications that will inform them of the educational pieces about this, the splits and the formation of a specific public art fund and so forth and so on. And two, all of us are going to be out doing every single Rotary Club, Lions Club, talking to every single PTAs, PTOs, and trying to get the word out as much as we can in the next 90 days before the election.
So one thing I think is important, if I understood you correctly, so if I didn't, I apologize in advance, is to really stress how Norman residents themselves are exempt. So if they go and stay at a hotel, that they aren't going to be paying this. Yeah, so I think that could be a game changer for people.
You're going to hear the words or see the words a lot of times, so I'm probably on social media, other people's money, and this is other people's money. Yes.
No, I think that's very important.
Yeah.
Has it always been like that? Because I want some back pay.
Yeah, let's see. Well, and two, unfortunately, when it went from 5 to 8%, the Parks Department was not included in that portion. And this is kind of going back to make up a little bit of that. And two, our hopes are is that the talks with the Norman Ford 2 portion of it, there's going to be a whole lot of arts facilities that are included all of our cultural centers and possibly even a new performing arts center and things like that that are going to be included on that. And when you start talking about how are those facilities kept up with, or if they need a new amenity or something, a building painted or a window replaced. That comes from the Parks Capital Fund, and that's how we're uniquely attached to the arts. And then you start talking about the Young Family Athletic Center and Griffin and Reeves, and all of a sudden we start talking about how we're tied into bringing people into town and putting heads in beds and people staying overnight and spending that, generating this, some of this hotel motel tax money. So, I mean, Parks is a very important portion of these three entities, and we're very closely tied together with all of them. But, you know, we just got, unfortunately, left out of the last one, and hopefully we can make it up on this one, and it'll all work out in the long run.
In looking at page 148 and 149, when I first looked at this, I felt that you have the Norman Park System listed here, and then it goes, what will the funding be used on? Which this what will funding being used on excludes the neighborhood parks. But you're saying neighborhood parks will get some of that?
So when you start talking about neighborhood parks, and this is, you're kind of looking at a little bit of a crystal ball. If you remember talking about those impact fees a little bit earlier. The hope is, if this passes, we'll go back and fix the ordinance that's tied up with the impact fees. Right now, impact fees are we get $150 most of the time with each building permit that is built. And $75 of that goes to a neighborhood park, and $75 goes to the community park, and that's the neighborhood parks specifically tied to whatever the closest neighborhood
Since
park that's built in there.
1994.
So our hope is to take care of the neighborhood parks that aren't necessarily included in this, is to untie that a little bit, to focus the impact fees or your neighborhood park fees or your park development fees is what they're actually called in the ordinance. Tie that to our neighborhood parks mostly, and untie that where we can go into, a good example is Oklahoma City goes into quadrants. The idea behind an impact fee is for an impact fee to be used in the general area of wherever that structure is built. So we just want to unwind that. It's wound pretty tight. We want to unwind that. And once we get that unwound, there's a pretty healthy fund that's in that. Is this what is difficult about the neighborhood development fees, that they're all, we have 65 of these neighborhood development fees tied up to specific parks. So if we unwind that, and they're all like have $10,000, $15,000, if we unwind that into 4 quadrants or figure out how to put those in equal parts, then that fund becomes a little bit bigger, and we're also keep on constantly depositing into a larger fund as hopefully the impact fees get a little bit larger and deposit and keep that growing. And hopefully the neighborhood development fees would take care of the neighborhood parks.
Okay, so neighborhood parks will not get part of this?
Not saying that. But yeah, this could be,
I mean, that's the way
the
it's
guest
worded.
tax could be
That is
used
what-
at any park. We're not tying it at anything,
Okay.
but this would be where the majority of that money would be.
Okay, well, I was just going off
Yeah.
I just wanted to see if I was reading that right.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, thank you. Next item, consideration of approval, acceptance, rejection, amendment, and/or postponement of the annual report from the Santa Fe Depot.
Hi, guys. I'm Sherry, Director of the Depot. Thanks for having me again today. I'm not sure where I want to start. That was a whole lot to digest. That's the first time I've seen any of that proposal, and I'm very grateful to Jason. I invited him to come to the Norman Arts Council Roundtable next Wednesday because our arts organizations in town have not heard anything about this either. So we're very interested in hearing about this discussion. We're in a really interesting spot, and with changes coming hard and fast across, well, every sector, the world is a bit rough right now. You know, the arts are facing cuts to NEA, the Corporation for Public Broadcasting has been disbanded, arts funding is in the tank right now. And we also are extraordinarily grateful for the Parks and Recreation Department in the city of Norman. We know, like to the bottom of our being, that there's not a facility, a park, an event, and everything that happens or that somebody gets a wild idea and proposes that doesn't roll downhill onto their head. And so we're all seeking funding from the same sources. And it can get very tense. And this is all happening really fast. I've been around in Norman forever, for 25 years. In 1980, my friend Norman Hammond was sitting on the city council when the arts organizations helped propose the first hotel guest tax. We went through months of discussion in 2023 when the discussion was to increase from 5% to 8%. And this one's kind of coming as a surprise, and we're all trying to move really fast and get up to speed. And thank you, Jason, for being willing to come to talk to the arts organizations, because my main concern is that with it coming as a surprise and it appearing like a pay cut to the arts, that we won't have the consensus so that everybody joins hands and increases the sales tax so that we can do the things we need to do. So I'm hopeful for a robust conversation where we can reach some consensus and all hold hands, leap forward, and help get funding sources, because there are so many amazing things we can do for this community, and we're all fighting for the same slivers of money. And we're not adversaries, we are partners in all of this. So I think good conversation is the path forward, and thank you. That was very enlightening. The Depot has had a really terrific last year. I know I came in hot with my report. I know that you all know that we produced the Summer Breeze Concert Series in Lions Park, which we love, and it was the 25th anniversary last year, and it was an extraordinary summer. And that we do our art gallery, where last year we hosted local artists, our new favorite, the Emerging Artist Show, alongside the first stop on a national tour of a Pulitzer Prize winning photographer who's from Oklahoma, and we got to be its first home. We're thrilled with the way our gallery is going. We have opened a whistle stop shop because every arts organization is getting creative about revenue sources right now, plus artists are having a tough time out there. So we've created a whistle stop shop, and we hope to be coming to you all with a proposal to do some improvements that we will raise funding for in the building. That will be a gift to this space so that we can create some built-in cabinets that fit with the historic nature of the building, so that we can store more products, put them away when there are events and rentals on the weekend, and be able to host a little store with local artists, makers. And we want to be that place when you come to downtown Norman and you're a visitor. Because I don't know if any of you know that I'm also the executive director of the Norman Music Festival. And last year we had 55 to 70,000 people come to that festival from over 30 states to downtown Norman. And at the Depot, we want to be the place when you come to town that you stop to get the locally art made thing, or the here's my little Norman logo shot glass, or whatever it is, but we need space to put those things. Our concerts indoors are amazing. We have plans in future years to grow those concerts and to work on a more robust presence. I'm kind of calling it the Robin Hood theory right now. If we can elevate the level of some of those concerts, the Grammy Award winners that we bring to our listening room with 75 people to listen, and they pay for the tickets, we can have those professionally recorded and video recorded so the rest of our community gets to enjoy them for free. Because our theory at the Depot is, our vision is a community connected through shared artistic experiences, and we want those doors open for free or for low cost as often as they can be. So we're working on that. We had over 17,000 people view our videos on our YouTube channel last year, and we're looking forward to growing that even more this year and providing arts opportunities and reflection on the arts for everybody. Our comedy series has become a comedy annual special, which is the Polar Sketch Express that runs for several days with sketch comics stand up, and it's really extraordinary and very funny. Definitely not safe for work. This one's for the big kids, but it's my Christmas because I am a Grinch, and so it's very much in my wheelhouse, and I like it very much. And our poetry has taken off faster than I ever thought it could. The Depot, for the first decade of its iteration, used to run the Second Sunday Poetry Series, and we would have a poet come in on Sundays and have, a little cup of coffee and some tea, and everybody would listen to a poet. And then the pandemic hit, and the former poet laureate of Oklahoma, Carl Senhen, who ran it, chose to retire and step back. But we, post-pandemic, recruited, we got a lovely donation to Restart Poetry from Dave Slemons. You guys might know Dave. It's fantastic. And Paul Austin, who is an author, a poet, a playwright, has run theater houses, and his wife, Rilla Askew, who's an American Book Award-winning author, are helping us put together quarterly poetry readings. And when you get 90 people to show up for a poetry reading the night before a home SEC game, you know you're doing something right. So we had an absolutely packed house for that. We really look forward to creating music and poetry, and we have big dreams for what can happen outside our front doors. And this is why the communication from parks and discussions about these taxes and increases are so important, because we know that we're partners in the vision that we've got for creating bigger things outside the depot. We've had some street concerts and street events. There's some talks about some mini festivals that want to happen. We've hosted things from the first ever, a couple of years ago, the first ever Oklahoma Wine Festival outside on the street. Our pocket street is so easy to shut down. We have stages, tables, chairs inside our facility, so we can throw a festival outside really easily. To Buffapalooza last summer, did any of you hear about this thing that happened? It was Terry Buffalo Ware is sideman extraordinaire. He has played for John Moreland, John Fulbright. He has been on the road with bands for 30, 40 years, and the artist that has done all of his album art was going to show on our gallery walls. Then we ended up with a situation where Terry was under the weather and couldn't perform, and I asked a few of his friends if they want to do a song swap, and it very quickly turned into John Fulbright's bringing the band, Jared Deck's coming, the Red Dirt Rangers are coming, everybody that knows Terry wants to show up, so I call Sarah Kaplan really quickly and say, I have to shut down the street. This is a festival now. And 2,000 people show up with their chairs, and we have an all-night long on Art Walk Street Festival. And we're working with our partners in the Downtowners Association and the art scene to think about how we can use our space at the depot in that park with that little street for cultural, artistic, community festivals that happen on a regular basis outside our doors. Because we've got the space, and we are the home for every parade that happens in town. We're opening the doors this Saturday to host Mardi Gras. We host Pride. We host the Songwriters Association of Norman lives in our building. Sierra Club lives in our building. We host the Norman Music Festival. We're the band hospitality space and have been since before I've been there. And anytime we can open our doors, our philosophy with the depot is this is a building that's owned by the community, and as much of the community as we can allow be a part of that space, that's what we want to do. So we did that in the last year, and Danielle's here with me. She is our programs director. She books all of our concerts and does an amazing, amazing job. And with that said, and if you'll notice on our bottom line, it's looking pretty healthy because we finally got our ARPA funding. It only took 3 years to get to our doors, but we're real happy about it. So our bottom line is looking nice. And I'm happy to answer any questions you might have about what the depot is doing. Oh, there are a couple of things. Because I said, normally when I come to you guys, we only talk about the good stuff and the happy, and I want to rah-rah everything. But I feel like, particularly because we're talking about the burdens of caring for our buildings, we've started with our new funding at the depot. Some of you might not know that when I came on board, the depot got annual outside agency funding from the city of $5,000 a year. That's in comparison to the $100,000 received by both the city Sooner Theater and the Firehouse Art Center. But we operate an Amtrak waiting room 365 days a year through our doors open for all of those community events. So we finally started creating a little equity in that funding because we don't want to have to be the people that say no. We'd rather be the people that say yes. So we were able to do that and create that kind of funding. And now I've forgotten where I was going with that. So we were able to get a little extra funding, hire Trinity, expand our gallery hours so that now we are open because with the Amtrak waiting room, have I told you guys about Ken? Ken is the most amazing human on planet Earth. This is a man for whom the Heartland Flyer is his own personal train set. He loves trains more than anything on planet Earth. He is retired. He shows up every single solitary morning, 365 days a year, and has for the more than a decade that I've been there to host the train every morning. But we know that that's not forever. And we have to create a transition plan so that we can take care. We are very hopeful that Amtrak funding will continue. And we'll make a transition plan for Ken. We've expanded our gallery hours in the morning. And Trinity's there to help create a facilities report for us every month. Because we want to be good stewards of that building and make sure that we're staying in close communication with the city about, I mean, it's one of the oldest buildings in town. The city was platted around that building. She's not gonna be perfect. She's got creaks and problems. So we want to make sure we're being good stewards and caretakers by communicating those. And I've put those in the report because I wanted you all to know about them as well. That we had mold in our new construction. You'll see a dip in our art sales for this year in comparison to last year because for November and December of 2024, we were shut down for mold remediation, which that's during our biggest art show of the year, but that was a thing that needed to be done. The Amtrak project that's going on now, if you've seen it around the depot, Amtrak is working on a platform leveling project, which is an ADA compliance project. There was a moment where we thought that the Amtrak was going to cease to exist on October 1st. Then luckily, the North Texas Business Association stepped forward with some funding to replace the Texas portion, and we get to continue at least through October 1st of 2026. But doing that project, as they cleared the concrete away from the building on the west side of the building, they tore open the seam between the top floor and the ground floor, and all spring we were wading in a swamp of water in the basement. We lost a lot of supplies. We lost a lot of things. We had to have some more mold remediation. Thank you, Jason. And so we deal with those. And we also know that the ongoing discussion about our heating and air, we have a heating and air situation if you've ever been in the depot. The heating and air that was put in during the 2017 renovation of the building might have been a little overkill for the building. It's got 5 zones and 5 different units for a building that small, and we kind of think maybe that was too much, but you know, that's not ours, so we just roll with what we're given. But she's so loud now, we jokingly say we have to turn it off and let the audiences wait until the airplanes come in to land before we can have a concert or a poetry reading, because that's not a thing. Like if we were trying to have this conversation in the depot room, we would have to be talking a whole lot louder. So we know that's on the long-term list. It's on the long-term list, and we'll all roll with it until we find the funding sources to make sure those things get taken care of. But we just wanted you all to know that we're not just having fun stuff. We're trying to be good stewards of the building and to take care of it, take a look at what's going on. And Trinity, that new funding that came from the city allowed us to hire somebody that's there now every day to make sure that they're looking at everything and taking care of that building for all of us. All right, any questions for you? Yes, ma'am.
One question. Thank you for sending over the financials. Can you also
Yes.
send over the statement of the balance sheet piece of it, the assets and liabilities? Because this was just the income and expense.
Did I not send a balance sheet?
No.
Cool. I'm sorry, I sent it to Kimberly today, but I didn't send it to Carla today. My bad, I'm sorry. I will happily send that to all of you so
Send it
that
to
you can
Carla
see that.
and
Would
she'll
you
get-
like it just for the last year? Do you want to do a prior year comparison? Do you want to do it now? What period would you like?
Normally do it. That was
Normally we
kind-
do it for the prior year, but I'm happy to do a prior year and then also send you one that kind of lets you know now, because now that we've got our ARPA funding, it's a whole lot prettier.
I don't know. Well, if
So-
you'd like to include that, great. Definitely the one that goes with the.
I'll
income
send
and
you the one that
expense.
goes with the financials and then a current one as of like year end for 25. Happy to do that, and so sorry I came in hot. I'll send them to Carla and she can send them out to everybody, yes.
Thank you all.
She was great and reminded me because I really thought I'd sent it Monday. And then Wednesday, she was like, it's all right, I'm firmly in NMF brain right now and trying to book bands for our Norman Music Festival, so you'll forgive. Yeah. Any other questions that I can answer for you all?
I just want to say thank you for all you do. That building is beautiful, the music is fabulous, and
We
the
love
art
it
is
so
wonderful.
much.
We're grateful.
We love it so much. We hope to have a lot more concerts and things going on. That's why we've got a Danielle.
Yep.
Yeah,
And I just want to second that as well, so.
yeah, happy to do it.
Just offhand, any idea what the percent of days the depot is rented out to the private groups versus the available days?
Sure, I would say on average, if I'm just saying on average, most of our Saturdays and Sundays have at least one, if not multiple rentals. And there are definitely different seasons. We are coming up on graduation and spring wedding season, and we had like 5 people walking in today, ready to book for graduation parties and everything. Sometimes we have 4 or 5 rentals on a weekend. It's mostly weekends. We don't have as many during the weekdays, and what we're trying to do right now, we host workshops and other things at the depot. So we've had watercolor workshops. We are now partners with the Oklahoma Visual Artists Coalition and the Paseo District in Oklahoma City, so that we can start working on emerging artists and young artist workshops in conjunction with them, that we are videotaping and creating a video series and an in-person series to help younger artists learn about career paths. So we're looking at the empty days for us. Those are mostly Monday and Tuesday. We don't have gallery hours on Monday and Tuesday because we work weekends. So Monday and Tuesday is our weekend. So on Mondays and Tuesdays, we're looking to fill the room with, now we're looking at more fiber art. We're working on a poetry workshop. We've got a couple of acting workshops that we're going to be working on, and more expanded series with OVAC, and a thrifting workshop. Bring your thrifted clothes and repurpose them and turn them into art. I'm very excited about that one.
Never found it.
Yeah. So I would say on average, we have probably 7 to 10 rentals on average monthly that are paid rentals. But we also have about 7 to 10 that we gift to the community,
Right.
because our, like I said, our theory for nonprofit organizations or organizations that are hosting community events is anytime we can say yes, and it doesn't cut into our bottom line, we just say yes.
Well, I'm just thrilled that it's being used so drastically, because I remember when it was empty all the time, so.
That's right. What's really funny is we often have people walk in and they think it looks like from the outside, particularly with ongoing construction that's been there for a year, it looks like a little empty building. We're hopeful that in the next round of Norman Forward, and when we start talking about these cultural organizations that live in buildings, the biggest thing that would help the depot is signage outside. If we had signage, a marquee signage that would let people know about the offerings and about all of the classes and an upcoming concert, people would know that we have 30,000 plus people walk through that building every year. We are busy all the time. There are 8,000 to 9,000 trained customers. We have about 10 to 15,000 people through our gallery hours and art walks. We have another 5,000, or no, that's a lie. Hang on, 10, 100, 1,500 people that come through for concerts, another 1,000 for poetry, comedy, and workshops. We have a lot of people that come through that building. And we don't want it to look so sleepy,
Right.
because she's not. She's really awake. Yeah. Anything else? I have a question for you all. In 10 years of coming here, I've never asked this question about the Parks Board. Are you an advisory board, a governing board? What's your role? I don't know.
We're an advisory board.
You're an advisor, so you're a community advisory board to Parks and Rec.
We're the advisory board to city council, representing the
got it.
Parks Department, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
We're a recommending board.
So
Advisory-
you listen to all the reports and the things that go on, and then you go to council and say, we think this. So it's advice to.
Well,
this-
They have legs with accepting or making recommendations on neighborhood developments and how what the park would look like inside there, and also
Kind of like the round table to the Arts Council? We don't make the rules. I don't know if you all know that at the Arts Council, there's the round table of arts organizations. That is an advisory committee to the Norman Arts Council. And it's made up of representatives from all of the organizations that receive funding from the Arts Council. And we as a round table will discuss new grant proposals. This is where Jason is coming to talk to us next week to talk about the hotel motel tax increase. We choose granting committee. So is it similar to that, Jason?
they also, under their purview, have the right to make rules for parks and recreation facilities.
Gotcha. And
Yep.
roundtable doesn't have that kind of teeth. All right. Yeah, we're strictly at the roundtable. We're strictly a we think this, but there's nothing binding at the Arts Council. It's
Yep.
just an advice. Okay, I just didn't ever know. And I thought in this moment, for reasons, the democratic process seems increasingly important to me, so I thought I would ask.
I think it's basically if the Parks Department wants to do something in a park, or if they want to put one of those little book libraries in a park and things like that, they bring it to us and we'll say yes. I mean, if we said no, then the Parks Department would have to say, no, we can't do that.
And
But
back to
then,
the drawing board,
but
okay.
then but they come to us and propose, this is what we're going to do, and they need our blessing before they take it on to council.
Got it.
And we're an extremely powerful board.
Damn right. All right. Very good. Thank you all so much for your time and for the work you do. Appreciate you all very much. All right.
Staff recommends approving and submitting the Santa Fe Depot's annual report to the city council once the Board of Park Commissioners has accepted the annual report. Do I have a motion to accept this annual report? Thank you, Todd. Do I have a second?
We need the balance sheet first to be included with it.
With the caveat that I get you all the
Balance
balance.
sheet.
Exactly,
Before
yes.
the end of the evening, and when I get home, I'll send that over. You got it.
Okay. You got that, Carla? Okay. Do I have a second for that?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Thank you. Item 6, consideration of approval, acceptance, rejection, amendment, and/or postponement of the Oklahoma Monarch Society Pathways for Pollinators and People Project.
Hi. All right. I'm Michelle Laudenbach. I think you guys know because I've spoken to you before. And I'm here, I'm very excited to be here because we are recipients of the Pathways for People and Pollinator grant from the Oklahoma Monarch Society. And really, we're being recognized because we've already done quite a bit of stuff in our parks, in neighborhoods, on infrastructure. You know, we do a lot in Norman. Yay. So I'm very excited to bring this. It's a project to meet the grant requirements from the Oklahoma Monarch Society. And I brought with me, first, Stephanie Leland from the Oklahoma Monarch Society. She's going to talk a little bit about what the Monarch Society is and what the grant is. And then also Megan Phelan, who is one of your parks planners. And she's going to talk, she's worked with us very closely to help design it. And she's going to talk about the actual plan for what we're going to do. And then we hope that we get your blessing. I'm pretty excited. We took it to ECAB. They were excited about it. So without further ado, please allow me to introduce Stephanie Leland from the Oklahoma Monarch Society. While she's talking, I'm going to hand out some goodies that she brought. Everybody likes goodies.
So this little, what do you call these? Like a little
Brochure.
pamphlet or brochure. Oh, thank you so much. This just explains who the Oklahoma Monarch Society is. So I'm Stephanie Leland and I'm marketing and communications. And I've been on about a year, but the Oklahoma Monarch Society started really in 2016. We just became official in 2023, but it started out as a group of people coming together at a summit about monarchs and forming the Oklahoma Monarch and Pollinator Collaborative. So that collaborative is now 60+ organizations from across the state. We have different working groups that get together and say, what kind of seeds do we need for our pollinators? What kind of plant mixes and things of that nature? We have rights of way working groups. We have marketing groups. So we have all these different groups that are working on our 2.0 statewide action plan. So that is one leg of our organization. The other leg of our organization is probably how most people know us, Okies for Monarchs. So that came from the Oklahoma Monarch and Pollinator Collaborative. They said we need an outreach and education leg. And so in 2016, we formed the OMPC, the Oklahoma Monarch and Pollinator Collaborative. And then in 2018, Okies for Monarchs came about. So that's just a little bit about how our organization is structured. And then Katie Hawk, well, okay, so let me talk about this. So our funding, people are like, how do you get funding? Do you get state funding? Well, we get it through the Monarch license plate. So the Save the Monarchs license plate that Rick Sennett designed for us. So speaking of that, we have proposed to do an $11,000 grant with the city of Norman, and that includes a highly reduced monarch mural. So Rick's going to come in and paint an 8-foot by 8-foot mural, should we get your blessing. with our monarch, and I've sent over, and they may have it, I'm not sure, like an example of what that would look like. And so Rick would come in and paint that, and so of the $11,000, we're giving him $2,000 to do that. It's really a mural of value of upwards of $12,000 to $15,000, but he's our board president and he likes us, so he's working with us on that. In addition, the other $9,000 will be used to buy plants and create habitat, really nice signage, education and outreach within your community. Okies for Monarchs is going to be at any event that the city of Norman wants us at over the next year, just to help promote pollinator conservation. We're very excited about this partnership. Katie Hawk is my boss. She's the one that sought out this grant. So some of the funding comes from us in ways of like our labor, some of our materials. The rest of the funding comes from the Kirkpatrick Foundation. So we sought funding from them to go out into 2 municipalities and do this. Our other municipality.
Only 2.
Yep, only 2 in the state. And what we did was we looked at communities across the state that are doing the work already. And we wanted to just lift their existing efforts. And so we're really, really excited. I've seen a lot of photos from the different habitat across your city, and it's just really impressive and exciting. And so we also have seed packets for everyone. I highly recommend if you have a full sun area with some bare earth that you get these in the ground before maybe February 14th is kind of the date. But if you get them in after that, it's fine. Monarchs need milkweed. So if you don't have milkweed, you won't have monarchs. And so there are milkweed seeds in there as well. It's just a seed mix that we did with Johnson Seed. Our plant group and our seed group all worked together with them on that. So you might be like, why is this person talking to me about monarchs? Why are monarchs so important? Well, monarchs serve as kind of an indicator of what's going on with the rest of our pollinators. And 1 in every 3 bites of food that's on our plate is dependent on pollinators. So without pollinators, we won't have the food we want, fruits and things of that nature. And they have had a massive population decline. So I'm just going to tell you a little bit about the monarch populations. I did not know that we had 3. So there's an overwintering group in Florida that I'm hoping to get to go see this spring maybe. I've been asked to maybe come and tag some monarchs. And then our population is called the Eastern population, and they come through Oklahoma and go all the way to Canada and then back in the fall. And this takes 4 to 5 generations. And so they're laying their eggs on milkweed. And those caterpillars are eating the milkweed, and that's the only food they can have. So if we eradicate milkweed, we don't have monarchs. So what's cool about monarchs is they all go back to Michoacan, Mexico in the Monarch Biosphere Reserve. And so we're able to go on historically with helicopters and survey, not me, but scientists, and figure out the population. Now they go in with drones, and what they found is since the mid-'80s, the population has dropped by 80 to 90%. So historically, they think it was 44 acres that they occupied, and last year it was 4.2 acres. And another interesting thing is the population in California has had an even more drastic decline of 99%. So they're literally going out. So we're counting our monarchs, the Eastern monarchs, in acres, but they're going into California and they have citizens going out and counting individual monarchs. And this year, the count just came in, they counted 12,260 monarchs, and they have swaths of people trying to find them. So they estimate that at the height of the 1980s, and I don't really know if it was a height, but they estimate in the 1980s that it was 1 to 4 million. 1 to 4 million monarchs, and now it's just a little over 12,000. So these species that are able to congregate like that give us a really good idea of what's going on with our native bees, our wasps, you know, our moths, all the other insects that that we rely on. And so they're very important. I'm very passionate about it. I love monarchs. I've been planting for them for about 10 years, so I'm excited to be able to do this work. This list here is what we consider our top 12 plants that you can put in the ground to help not just monarchs but other pollinators. If you look along the column on the left, it shows early, mid, and then late blooms. So if you have blooms from all year round, you'll have nectar and pollen for these pollinators throughout the whole growing season. So that's why we've outlined it like that, and that came out of one of our work groups with the Oklahoma Monarch and Pollinator Collaborative, Xerces Society, NRCS, all these different scientists. So, yeah, that's kind of what I'm here to tell you about is we have this awesome opportunity. We hope that you're excited as we are, and I know you have designs and ideas of what to do with the money.
We do have designs. You do see in your packet, I see that you sort of have it open. That is an actual example of one of Senate's types of murals. It'll be 8 foot. How neat. I'm pretty excited about that. You're gonna see me a little more, because these are these newer kinds of hybrid facilities that were created, right, in Norman. It's this neat juxtaposition between park spaces and other infrastructure. Whether that's, natural resource infrastructure like at Lahoma Grove, which has floodplain, and we replanted for the floodplain, or maybe it's these new plantings we're doing here. We want to do a micro forest. I'm going to bring you guys into that as well, because it'll be another facility. So you get to see me a lot, sorry, but also yay, because think about what we're going to be doing. And at Ruby Grant this last year, I'm sure you guys saw it, right? We had so many monarchs there. And in fact, so many that it has even inspired us to do Monarchs in the Park at Ruby Grant this year. So that's very exciting.
And it still came out and interviewed some of our volunteers and staff with State Impact. She came out and interviewed at Ruby Grant Park because people were out there and
Because there were so many, right?
just following it.
So it's very exciting. Now, without further ado, please allow me to bring up Megan. I hope you know her. We love her so much. I'm so glad that you hired her. Anyway, Megan's going to talk a little bit about the actual design and the plans. Oh, I should mention, because I didn't, we want to put this here at City Hall. We want to put it in front of when people come in to City Hall, they will see it with sign. Okay, sorry, go.
Animated it.
Sorry.
I am Megan Phelan, park planner. So this image just gives you a good idea of the location of the new pollinator garden and where the mural's going. So you can see, try this out. Oh, this one. So North Santa Fe Avenue, West Gray Street. This is the development building where we are, and then City Hall over here.
Norman's there. That's
Abner.
you. Yes.
So that's where the Abner E. Norman statue is. And then the mural, which we showed you an example of, is going here. And
That way people, when they're driving down Gray, will see it and then draw them into it. Oh my God, right?
Yeah.
And you know what? We also have the EV charging stations right there too. All right, sorry, go on.
yes, so that street is looking west on Gray. That one, there. And then the mural, or an example of the mural, I think they'll be kind of customized for each location.
It'll have the rays, it'll have the monarch, it'll have different clouds or different background kind of stuff, pieces.
And then this is where the pollinator garden will go. We'll reuse as much of the existing landscape that we can. We're going to keep the holly trees, and there's some native grasses there that we'll reuse, but a lot of it's kind of open space right now anyway, so we'll just be adding to it. And then just wanted to show you some inspiration images of naturalistic native plant landscape design. So these are kind of looking throughout the seasons. Got winter, early spring, summer, and then looking into the fall. And, I think with this new garden, in addition to showing people how you can help the pollinators, also showing people what an alternative way of looking at a landscape would be, just something different than what you see probably in your neighborhood everywhere, but a little bit more loose and natural, but there's still some really interesting beauty throughout all the seasons and not just, evergreens and then summer blooms kind of thing.
So it will feed, because that's part of it, right? We had to come up with a plan to feed throughout all of the seasons. So we'll have food sources throughout all the seasons.
And then here's a proposed plant list. And then I'm currently working on the design and should have that finalized early next week.
And so, what do you think? Any questions? What do you wanna know?
So I have a question.
Yes, Tom.
So obviously, monarch have become sort of the charismatic species for pollination.
The bellwether.
But there are many other pollinators that are equally as important. With Asclepius, obviously, you're targeting the monarch. Are there any other pollinators that you're trying to target as well? Or is your species list going to be more generalist, trying to get whatever you can?
I wouldn't say they were targeted per se. Come on up, Megan.
Yeah, I mean, like this, since I've started designing, the list has changed, but I would still say there's probably 40 different plants they're all native, they all have some sort of like targeted pollinator, either generalist or specialist or a host plant for, you know, an insect.
But that's a vine, so you gotta be aware, you also have to be aware of what you plant because we are in front of the municipal building, so you can't do.
Yeah, and I think the challenge with this location is we are trying to keep it a little bit less wild and make it a little bit more palatable to people. So it feels, you're using native plants and they're a little bit more loose and not as formal, but it still feels maintained and, you know, there's blooms happening. It's not a bunch of wild grasses. It's not, the intent is for it to not look weedy.
Yeah, the intent is to make it look like it's a reason, the reason it's there. So my answer to you is we're trying to get as many as we can. I mean, it's not like, oh, we're just gonna plant for the swallowtail butterfly and monarchs, no. Because we also need to protect our bees, right? And it's not just bees. We've got hummingbirds that are bats, you have beetles, ants, I mean, yeah. Other questions? Sorry.
So kind of in hand in glove with that, as I glance through the list, it does look like you're trying to keep the height down because, you know, oh my gosh, there's examples of native gardens where things are huge and tall and you just can't do that in front of the building. So it looks like you've definitely got that in mind.
Yeah, that's the key. We were really trying to, and Megan's been so good about that, trying to make it to where, like you said, so that the general public will find it palatable. So, yes.
So, I mean, this is brilliant. I mean, having to take care of our pollinators is something that people just don't recognize how terrifying the situation is. But, so what would it, I mean, what you're doing at the City Hall is a great educational opportunity, fully support it. But it's not really, this is a tiny little spot in the middle of downtown Norman and lots of people. What would it take to expand this to parks across the city so that it would be a, you know, literally Norman could be a place where large numbers could come and find quiet, quiescent areas to rest and eat? That's my
think
first
what you
question.
would
I have a
find-
second question. but
Sure.
Go
Well,
ahead
I
and
think
answer
what
that.
you would find first, let me just say this
Yeah.
first. I think what you'll find, at least in Norman, and this is part of the reason why they chose us, is that we actually have quite a few pockets in our parks. I mean, you've already,
Yeah.
you guys have already invested that for us, right? So like Cherry Creek Park, I can't even remember all the ones off the top of my head. There are a bunch. How many acres do we have? I know, right? It's
I
on
have it
the-
on my laptop out there. They'll send me all of the acreage in different parks, and we can get you all that list of current habitat. 'Cause
But in
we're gonna
terms
have,
of
should this go
maintenance.
through, will be worked into a press release, what Norman's already doing.
But in terms of making it like holistically applied in all parks at all times, or, you know, whatever, that's gonna take a real shift in the entire elephant, right? You have to change everybody's mind, because I hope this is okay. What happened at the library, you know? I mean, people weren't educated enough, and it was a thing, right? So we have to start like this first, I think. Start by educating and putting in the pockets where we do, but also making it to where it is, right in front of people. This is why we're doing it, the
And
signage
proper
that we're doing.
signage, yeah, proper signage.
Well, what I'm even thinking about is I'm not a biologist, so I, you know, but it seems to me that there we have X number of acres, that's great. But how many acres do we need to really make an impact for these species? I mean, do we need 10 times that much? And if so, could we integrate that in? Or could a certain percentage be in the parks and then the rest private property?
Yes.
Well, and this is something that could influence the public. And I don't know if y'all are familiar, but Stash has a native plant festival that they do with the Oklahoma Native Plant
Yeah.
Network, which is kind of our sister partner in this whole thing, because without the plants, you know, what we're doing doesn't matter. We have to have the plants available to the public. But Norman's hungry for this. Like,
Yeah.
that festival blows up. Like, so just continuing to have these spaces with this signage to teach the public and to show them these sample gardens. You can do this in your yard. And in addition to that funding for the public, something we did last year was a wildlife habitat grant program where we had applicants from 3 different counties submit, and we doled out grants for people to put habitat in their front yard, and their neighbors started seeing it and getting inspired by it. So just normalizing it. And that's what this would do, is to be like, hey, whoa, this is, you know, this looks great and serves multiple functions.
I'm just wondering more from like an ecological point
Yeah, I
of
don't
view,
have those
you know,
numbers.
We could ask
So
about
what
how closer
kind
they
of-
are, that they have the numbers.
What kinds of impact, could we really make, could we make a significant difference if there is a feasible amount of acreage that we could address? Or is it like, it's just an urban environment, we'll put some in, that'll be nice, but, we want to make a difference.
Yeah,
No,
and if you have
Really
big
do that.
spaces, we can look at doing seed mixes,
Yeah,
which is
yeah.
a little bit more affordable as well.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
we can get deals on the Okie Monarch seed mix because we know the guy,
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
if that's something you want to look at.
Yeah, I just want to mention at Bishop Creek Eco Park, our new park that is
That's
under
what-
construction, we are planning to hydro seed in a few weeks with a native grass and wildflower seed mix.
And
So
I recommend
that's the whole
everybody come
part.
look at this, because
Yeah.
that's a really cool operation, and the guy who's doing it is actually a really good operator, so, yeah.
Is there some out at Saxon Park too? Or is that just wild grasses?
Saxon Park,
It has milkweed and.
Yes.
Okay.
I've been there.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
We did a bee walk in Saxon, Saxon's a lot.
sort of to Mark's point, and this may be wishful thinking on my part, but I think that doing things like this can somewhat normalize the idea of doing pollinator gardens, and more individuals may take it up on their own. So for instance, in my neighborhood, I think that my neighborhoods think I'm a freak because I don't have, monoculture Bermuda grass in my front yard, and instead I'm trying to go with more native pollinators. And so if they see something like the city of Norman taking the lead, it can maybe inspire others to do the same thing.
That's our hope, for sure. Absolutely. And if you look at like Lahoma Grove, we use that just for native plant. I mean, there are some pathways in Lahoma, but the reason we did that was specifically for our pollinators, et cetera. And there will be more. And I think what you find, and especially as you guys go through the accreditation thing that you guys are going through right now, the concentration is on this. So I bet as that goes, culture's changing. It is, so. Sorry,
No, it's very
forever.
fair.
So
My second question is on the mural. The dog, do we get the dog with the mural?
I do have a note about the mural, and I'll make this note anytime paint on brick comes up, but I love it, but not painted onto the brick. If you could put it on a panel, it seems
Yeah,
like a
yeah.
great size for a panel, and then you put the attachments in the mortar joints, not in the brick. That way, you're protecting the building. You brought up the library. Nobody wants a art project, a monarch project to be the cause of some kind of terrible mold or something. That would not be very positive for the community and for the mission. So I would definitely encourage you to put it on a panel instead of directly on the brick.
Yeah.
do we have any idea what the plans were to paint? Were the plans to paint it on the brick, or was it being put on a mural, or what?
The plan currently was to paint it on the brick, but now that we have some information, we can go forward with that and investigate. Thank you.
If we were to plant this in our yard, when we are to plant this in our yard, what should we expect to be seeing?
It's a variety of, I think, about 15 different plants.
Okay,
What I recommend doing is getting a plant finder app so that as things start coming up, you know if it's weeds that just happen to be in the seed bed or the actual plants, but you'll have different milkweed, coreopsis, coneflowers.
so it could be a mixture of any of these?
Yeah, in addition to that.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, iNaturalist is a really good app for just figuring out what you have.
Okay.
Yeah, and Johnston Seed has the list as well on their website. Of what is in there. I just want to say one more thing. Another cool thing about this project is it doesn't just stop with municipalities. We're doing a rights of way or roadside habitat campaign. ODOT does a lot of work to elevate what they're doing, but in addition to that, we have 4 correctional facility habitats and murals that we're doing.
This is exciting.
That they're getting the full like habitat and mural, and then we're seeding 2 or 3 additional correctional facilities. So we're excited about that as well.
Me too. Thank you. Wow.
Are there any
Oh,
other?
I just want to, before, I know you're going to do this, but I just wanted to, while I have you real quick, I'll be coming back again pretty soon because Artful Inlets is coming up, and this year we're in Rotary Park. Okay.
Any other questions? Okay. It is recommended that the Board of Park Commissioners recommend forwarding the Oklahoma Monarch Society's Pathways for Pollinators and People project to the City Council for consideration and approval. Do I have a motion to accept that?
Is it possible that we can just add a note that the mural be a panel?
That's what I was considering. I think that we need to leave that up to the discretion of the park facilities management.
Yeah, I don't know.
But definitely put it in there for, like, consideration.
I would
We'll
say
check
to-
into it if it's better.
I
Yeah,
would say
we'll-
to consider the long-term costs over 5 to 10 years if they, you know, the
Yeah, I think,
brick can't work.
I just feel like it needs to be left to the discretion of the facilities
That sounds good
group.
to me.
I mean, with he's here, so he knows what our,
Well, then I move to accept, pass, move, yes.
okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, they're on them. All right. Thank you.
Thank you all so much.
So before you guys leave, can I mention something? So I hadn't planned on this and probably go better in miscellaneous, but I am part of an organization at the university that is putting together a showing of a documentary. Mark is actually going to serve as one of our panelists. It's called Prairie Prophecy, and it's on the life and times of Wes Jackson and the Land Institute in Manhattan, Kansas. Free showing at the University of Oklahoma. There's a panel discussion. It's going to be catered on February 20th. And so this would be a perfect thing for you all to attend because I think it'd be in your wheelhouse.
Okay.
So, I mean, I know this is an aside and I'm probably out of order here, but just thought I would mention this.
On our website, if you ever have events that seem to align with this, you can always submit the events and we lift everything and we have
Okay.
19,000 people on our e-newsletter that we send out events to. So happy to attend, but also happy to promote it as well.
Great.
I mentioned something while I'm still here. Would that be okay?
I mean, I spoke out of turn.
You may make a comment as long as it pertains to what they're doing.
Yeah. Do I need to done here? No.
If it's a question for them, I mean, you're welcome to take it outside in the,
Well, it affects like the planting area they were talking about and working with the university biology biodiversity.
okay, I need you to come up and tell us your name and,
Yeah. My name is Jillian Mueller. I was here for a part, but talking about the plants and everything, you could work with the biology department. I know that they're studying the native bees. I raise blue mason bees at my house. And so definitely they put the bee houses in random places, like at the zoo and different places like that. And if you could partner with them, they could also research and benefit from the plants that they have there. So, just an idea.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay. Next item, consideration of approval, acceptance, rejection, amendment, and/or postponement of the annual report from Norman Sports Commission. Basically, this is just the addition of the statement of the financial position that we saw earlier. Does anybody have any questions? Did you have any questions on this, or?
I think I raised this in December. My only concern is this is the entire Visitors Bureau financial statement, and we're really only trying to oversee the Sports Commission. And so, and I think we asked him if going, and he said he couldn't do it for this one, but going forward, I would want to just reiterate that next year we want it to somehow highlight what pieces of this information pertain to the Sports Commission.
I'll pass that on, kind of like, we'll see if it's possible for them, like if they have a divisional report with built in within their, like a cost center for Norman Sports, we'll see if they can break that out.
Because they kind of should be tracking it because the tax is so specific to the commission, so
Yes.
you would hope they have that.
Yeah, we will highly suggest that. And two, that could be something that we for sure clean up if because if the guest tax gets raised, because we'll redo the contracts, we can make it clear on that.
Thank you. That was my only.
Okay. So staff recommends that the board approve and submit the Norman Sports Commission annual report, including its complete financials, to the city council for approval.
I move that we accept it.
Tori, do you have any questions? I know you were,
No, I just agree with her. I mean, there's really no point in, I'm not an accountant.
okay.
This
Okay.
is a lot, so I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Christie. All in favor? Any opposed? Okay. I'll be forwarded on. Next item is consideration of approval, acceptance, rejection, amendment, and/or postponement of proposed park playground designs for 4 neighborhood parks.
Hello again, Megan Phelan, park planner. So as you all know, Norman Forward designated money to renovate parks with new trails, playgrounds, sports courts, et cetera, and to build 5 new neighborhood parks. We recently put out to bid 3 playground replacements, Eagle Cliff, Northeast Lions, and Sutton Place Park, as well as a bid for new playground equipment as part of our development for our next new neighborhood park, Blue Stem. And the budget was set for each park and varied according to the size of the site and population served by the park. Bidders were instructed to use all available funds stated in the proposal and to include synthetic turf, safety surfacing, and a shade structure that covered quite a bit of the playground equipment. And we received over a dozen proposals for each playground, which was awesome. So we evaluated each proposal to ensure it met the bid requirements, and then which design best met the character and needs of the park and the neighborhood. So, hopefully, okay, so this is Blue Stem. This is the new neighborhood park, and I believe that this park design was presented to you all in the spring of last year, I think. Bethany presented it? Okay. So this is, I want to say Southeast 24th.
Right next to Link's apartment.
Yeah,
Okay.
just south of the Lynx Apartments. And this is Northeast Lions Park.
There's probably other. Do what? I would say Eagle Cliff is pretty far south.
This is Northeast Lions Park. The playground will be located in the newly incorporated part of the park that used to be called High Meadows Park, and we had presented that incorporation
Last,
at
yeah,
some point.
we saw it in the last 2 months, we've
Last
seen
year.
it. Mhm.
Yes. And then Eagle Cliff Park. Eagle Cliff had 2 old separate playgrounds, and they will now be replaced with 1 large new play area. And the final one is Sutton Place Park. The playground at Sutton Place was also at the end of its usable life and ready for an upgrade.
I have a question back to Eagle Cliff. There was something about toddlers is why, like, the toddlers were one space, or am I misremembering what I read? And so do we still have all ages? Is it that,
So-
was that Eagle Cliff, or was that one of the other
Yes,
ones?
so Eagle Cliff was 2 separate playgrounds, toddler and
So is there toddler play in there? I can't tell.
there are toddler swings, and there's some toddler items that can be used, but I think generally geared towards a little bit older.
Yeah. So there's still something for the littles?
Yes.
For the little
Yeah.
littles, okay.
Yeah.
I have a question. Why the sunshades over everything? Is that a thing? I mean, is that's like a required? What's it for? Just shade?
So they can use it in the summer.
So depending on the color of the amenities in there, like if you have direct sun on those, those
They'll
could
just get
shoot
hot.
triple digits easily during direct sun.
No one ever cared about us.
No, I know, and we had metal slides.
Metal slides and
Going down metal slides.
I know.
The angles, all that good stuff, yeah.
We still have 2 metal slides if you're doing stuff.
Oh, yeah?
You can use them to cook breakfast or as a slide. It's an option for yourself.
What did you say, Christina?
Being a parent and going to the park with your kids in the summer, those are an absolute blessing, yeah.
They didn't do that with us either.
You know, I don't think it was such a big deal because skin cancer, screen protection wasn't a thing back when we were kids, you know, but now it's become more, we know more, so, yeah, baby oil and iodine, right. So, yeah, I mean, I can't tell you how many calls we would field in the Parks Department for, well, my kid got his hands burned hanging on the monkey bars or something during the summertime. And we're like, well, okay. So, but yeah, I think just in the last 10 years or so, it's become prominent that they do the shade structures. Yeah, they want to make them usable all year round. Any other questions? Okay. Is there any public comment about these parks? Specific to these parks? Okay.
Hi, my name is Jillian Mueller. I live in Sutton Place neighborhood, and I have 4 kiddos. I've lived there for over 10 years, and so this is a big deal for us to have a new playground there. And we have the councilman, Joshua Hinkle, also lives in the neighborhood, and so he's been talking with me, because I'm like, when are we getting the playground? When are we getting the playground? It's just been very outdated. In 2020, it had hail damage that has been there since, never repaired. So there's things about it that I've really been anticipating of, like, what do I want to see in this park? So when he actually sent us a picture of the proposed park, and it looks beautiful. I had a couple of questions and comments, like the ground cover, you said it was like, what did you call it? Synthetic turf. So is that like the fake grass? Okay. I would strongly urge and hope that we could change that to the rubberized, like matte material that's like at Andrews Park. The fake grass, it gets pushed down very easily. When it rains, it puddles. And then for like, if you have babies or toddlers that are crawling, that fake grass can hide things in there, like rocks and little toys or just harmful things that they shouldn't be grabbing at. And so I noticed that a lot at the old Andrews Park, that it had the fake turf. So as a mom, I really don't like that in a playground. The other thing that I would love to see is like a gate around it. That makes me feel so much safer as a parent, especially with toddlers that are running around. If you said you were a mom, if the people that I know that say, hey, let's go to a park and let's play at it, the first parks they pick are ones that have gates around them and ones that have shade. That, like, biggest thing that you can ask any parent, what is it in a park that you want to see? It's protection, so that's why Ruby Grant Park is really popular, because it's gated. I know that my kid's not gonna run out and run into the parking lot, and I can watch one kid or help push on a swing, and even if I'm distracted for a second, I know they're not gonna get hurt. So that would be my advice, is to have some kind of gate around it. I know the HOA is really great there. I've talked to them before and would love to talk to them again about, like, if there's a way that they can help make those things happen as well. Last little comment about it is, when you consider Sutton Place and the namesake in Sutton Wilderness, it's about George M. Sutton, who was a famous ornithologist, loved birds, was very artistic in the art, and I would love for this to flow, because this backs up right to Sutton Wilderness. I would love, love, love a themed playground. If it had any kind of nature theme to it, which I actually went to the website, that the Burke playground equipment, they have nature themed playground sets. Not that, like this one, I think they were calling it like a nucleus, like it was more science themed. So I'd love to see something that's more nature themed, something that fits and flows and adds to that area. And it draws people, you know, even if they're by Sutton Wilderness, to come by. We are actually right next to the Cleveland County Fairgrounds, that the RV park is right there. So we have people that come. Yes, so we're like right across from Dara Marie's and things like that. And so we have a lot of people that come by in that area. And so that's my request. We love this park. We talk to neighbors all the time about how to, you know, what we'd like to see. And I got to talk to other moms too and say, what would you want in this park? And, but yeah, any update, we are so thankful for and excited about. So that's all my comments. Okay. Yeah, you're welcome.
So my question is for some of the individuals on parks, and that is, have decisions already been made, such as the equipment that you're buying, or are these things that are able to be considered?
So how we package a bid for specific neighborhood parks is that we put out requirements that are specific for that playground or that neighborhood, along with key amenities that we want in there. So we go through there and describe it with our neighborhood parks. There's synthetic turf is the standard with our neighborhood parks. So this was put out with those minimum requirements. We sent that out to 12 different playground vendors. This is what we got back as an option from Burke. And out of the 12 playground vendors, this is the one that the park department is recommended for y'all to recommend to council to move on with. It is possible, I think, out of the things that she requested, I think it's the most possible one out of that without kind of resetting the whole plate might be the fence that goes around there. We could look into that and cost, and if the neighborhood's willing to share or pay for the fencing to go around that, I think that's definitely a possibility. But at that point, when we start talking about playground surfaces, different options like themes, that we would have to restart this whole selection. And when you start talking about the reason we don't have the poured playground rubbery surface like at Ruby Grant or at Andrews Park is that material is almost twice the expense of this. So if that is the wish of the neighborhood and park commission, we can reset it, send it out, but I would warn that if we did that, the playground would be significantly smaller. And there would be amenities that we would have to probably give up to have the poured surface in there.
You mentioned a parking lot. Is there a parking lot with this park?
There is a
Okay.
parking lot over in Sutton Wilderness that is, this neighborhood also has a neighborhood pool. So the parking lot in the pool area, which is next to the neighborhood park, is the HOAs, is not the cities.
So I'm sorry if I misunderstood, can you not change the theme? You'd have to send that out for bids again?
The bids have already been, yeah.
Yeah, this is, we had a open bid period which
Right.
lasted about 30 days, and this was submitted as their, I mean, we can talk with them, and if it was within the budget, we can have them redo the theme of it. That is possible as well.
I have another question. How difficult is it to replace the surface after the fact? Like, some years down the line, would you have to replace the entire playground, or can you replace the surface?
We hope to get to the point in our neighborhood parks, like we're saying, we have playgrounds that are over 30 years old. And some playgrounds held up better than others, depending on the neighborhood of this, but
Wood chips.
we hope to get to the point where we're replacing these every 15 years. And that hopefully be the combination between Norman Ford and guest tax and improved impact fees. Hopefully we can achieve that. But I would say something like that, if we do go this direction, unless there's something that catastrophic that happens to the playground, that you would stay with that surface, because if you start pulling out that grass surface, you're going to have to redo base, you're going to have to redo the levels of it. There's a lot of complexities and differences between the base that goes behind a grass surface than a poured surface. There's a little bit more margin of error at grass, a little bit. You go in there and you put rock and sand and put the grass on there. But if you start doing poured surfaces, you have to get a pretty refined, flat surface that is not as much give as this.
Is the same company doing all of the parks? The 4 parks?
There's 4 different companies that are
There's
doing
4
it.
different companies
Yeah.
doing them? Okay. Would the bid have to go back out to all those parks again if you changed?
We
scope
could
of that
we
design?
could just do one park if that's,
But would it have to go back to all of those same companies that got it originally?
yes. We would
Have to go back to those 12
We would
companies to
reset
rebid.
it, and it would take another probably 60 days to re-prepare the bid, figure out what, and like I said, I think that if you go with a poured surface, you're gonna probably get about half the playground.
As the planner, do you pick what goes into this? Because these are very 4 different designs. One seems more appealing than the other, to me.
The way these go, so we'll Megan described it a little bit, so we'll go through there and figure out the budget for every single one. Every single playground has a different cost associated with it, and we do it a little bit untypical of what a typical process is with other parks departments. So, and I don't remember what the budget was for this playground, but if it was $215,000, so we just using an example, if that is our budget for that playground, we send this out to every single playground vendor that we got, and we tell them to design the best playground possible you can for this $215,000, and that's and when we get 12 back, that we get 12 different playgrounds, and we try to pick whichever is the best
Biggest
playground
bang for the buck.
for that individual one, and that's how you get different vendors for all these different playgrounds.
And there are different amenities that they require in the bid, like you have to have swings, and you have to have certain activity toys, and different things that are required as part of the bid. So like you'll see the same, they all look different, but if you look at them from like playground structure and components, they all have similar play activities. Does that make sense? So like the structure or the mechanism that's giving that play feature may be different, but they're still giving the same play feature. or that same interactive method.
And is it based on the number of houses in that neighborhood, on how big?
Megan, you remember what the formula was that y'all used to come up with the budgets? I know it depends on how many, there's a number of things that go along with that. So we set aside at the beginning of Norman Ford, and it has been adjusted a little bit since it started just because of cost inflation. But everything, we take in factors how many people live in the neighborhood, proximity to other playgrounds, proximity to other community parks, and what other things that were needed in that park from Norman Ford, and that all that goes into how we determine each budget for each individual park.
And Jason, with replacing, hopefully, parks every 15 years, rejuvenated.
We hope we get there.
And lots of neighborhoods being built that are supposed to be going to, I guess you take that into consideration too.
Yeah, and so, and I'm gonna say this, so Sutton Place Park, if I was to guess it, it's probably in the neighborhood of 20 to 25 years old, that playground system. And when that playground was initially put in, it was a little bit different model, and impact fees or neighborhood development fees were set up to pay for basically the playground, and the city would figure out through the capital program how to go through there and put sidewalks. So I would guess that 20 years ago, this playground would have cost somewhere in the neighborhood of $35,000. And what is the budget for?
185,000.
So we're in the neighborhood of somewhere about 20,000, or 200,000. So we can go back through here, and I think we can talk to Burke about redoing the theme and matching to more nature, birds and things like that. And I think that we can figure out, talk to the neighborhood, figure out the fence thing. I think those would be pretty simple things that we can get to.
So, not knowing about this process until tonight, is there any economy and scale if there was a single company that bid on all of the parks and did it as, sort of a group? Or has it always been just best to do each park individually? And I'm just trying to understand the process.
So we have talked about that, and we try to go down that road, and we've had playground vendors trying to twist our arm to sit with them. And the advantage would be, or pick them to do all the parts. The advantage would be is that it would make it much easier for us to replace parts, and through vandalism, age, weather, natural, weather or winds or something like hail, anything that could happen to go through there and vandalism that damage these parks. And it would be a lot easier and a lot simpler to go through there and figure out if we had one vendor. But the process that we do, where we put out a budget for that, and then everybody kind of bids towards that number, we found that's a lot better than going in there basically with requirements, and then like, hey, our requirements could be for this one is that we want turf to go in there. We want to make sure we have toddler slides or toddler swings, regular swings that go along in there, shade cover, and 2 slides, and miscellaneous amenities in your budget, or not put a budget in there. And then we have with that factor, we would have to go through there, and basically, as long as they hit all the specs that we put in there, we would have to take the lowest price bid. And not necessarily, we don't think that that's probably the best process. And that's what a lot of other cities go with, or they have an architect that goes through there and designs that, which starts taking away from, we get free services. Basically what is free services along with this, without having an architect or engineer involved designing this. So this process is what we found that where we can get the most bang for the buck. And a lot of times we're getting, without having an engineer or architect involved, or going with lowest bid, we're getting a little bit more than what we typically would in other directions.
But essentially, a company like Burke could say, they see all 4
Yeah.
playgrounds.
They could have bid on all 4 of them.
They could bid on
They did bid on all 4.
And they could even say to you, look, if you pick 3 or 4, we can actually do scale economy, and it's, you know, I don't know, I mean, I'm just curious on top.
I would think it would be more competitive if you're giving them, like you're saying, rather than.
Yeah, we're giving them a budget, so if everybody's, if they know it's a $185,000 budget, and that's the same, and we're giving specific instructions to them, we're basically telling all the vendors to come in here and put the most as you can in this playground as possible, and that's how we're making it competitive. So you're getting,
None of them come to you and say, hey, look, if you if you select us for all 4 sites, we'll give you this playground, versus if you just select it by itself, you get this playground, you know what I mean?
and
Well, I think it's more, we can put more amenities into a playground. We're gonna put, you know, where one company will put, you know, 2 slides, well, the other company might just have 1 slide.
and if we
So
did
they're
it that
gonna-
way,
They're
we.
gonna make it more impressive, thinking that you're gonna go with their bid, based on what amenities they're gonna put in.
And if we did it that way, we kind of take a little bit of the competition factor out of it. We're not knowing, if we're pick one company ahead of time and give them a budget to design to, we're not really knowing what, you know, instead of having 12 companies bidding on it, we're having 1, so we really don't know
Well, I mean,
the
now,
competition of
we
it.
could all do that, I mean.
But Burt bid on every single playground that we had out. I mean, they had the same opportunities, it's just the one that we believed was the best option for Sutton Place.
And I just want to say, I think it allows for, it encourages them to be more creative in their designs, knowing that they're going up against 12 other,
Right.
you know, potential designs. So they want theirs to be the best, as opposed to knowing like, oh, I could just do all of these.
And I think Sutton Place and Eagle Cliff, and then kind of Northeast Lines, those were all replacements, but the blue stem is a new park. That's why it's so much more, because it actually has parkland development fees involved with it, right?
Yeah, they had, you get parkland development fees and Norman Ford money, that's both going into that.
Into that park, because they
And-
haven't had a park, so it's a brand new park.
And that has the unique, when you start talking about the neighborhood development fees, usually talking about the, like Sutton Place is a neighborhood that's, has, let's say, 100 homes built in it and spread out, you know, over a large area of land. Lynx is an apartment building, so they're paying the same amount of fees, except for they're fitting in 300 apartments in a smaller service area, which kind of weirdly gives us more opportunity to do something a little bit larger, just because of how the development fees are set up.
So they've got more.
Because it's development impact fees are collected per dwelling
Per
unit,
dwelling.
not on square footage.
Any other questions?
But if y'all want those suggestions on Sutton Place, we could, if you want, we could go back and talk to Burke. I don't think it would be proper to, or fair to open that back up to rebid, but we can go back to them and definitely work on getting the theme adjusted. I think that we are pretty locked in on what it looks like. I think the themes could be changed as we get on there. Might add a little bit of extra time for it, and we can work with the neighborhood on getting a fence in there, or we can figure out how to do it ourselves. It's not, I mean, that's not gonna be a make or break thing on
And that's
Sutton
something that
Place.
can always be added later too, is the fencing area.
And that one, being square, it's a little bit, it already has as you see, all of our parks have a concrete border going around the surface, so it'd be pretty easy to, before we get that border poured, maybe put some poles or anything in there, make it a little bit wider and slip those in there.
So how do we phrase our motion?
What is the motion?
It's just to approve the proposed playground designs. We could do the proposed playground for the designs for Bluestem, Eagle Cliff, and Northeast Lions, and modified design for
We can-
Sutton Place Park.
What I would recommend is that we go ahead and move forward with Sutton Place, and then we'll get back with, we go ahead and approve it, and then we can, next month, and go ahead and get on the council agenda, and next month we'll bring you, hopefully back a different theme. Also point out too that not a whole lot of times we have themes that are involved into a, neighborhood, park. They're the only ones that.
In the Bentley Park, at the Hot Wheel Park?
Not like this. This is the first time we ever had somebody put in a design, a part of their bid, for the turf. This one is kind of unique. We haven't had that before.
Okay.
If you look at our other designs, they don't have any, or our other parks, they don't have anything designed into the turf.
Oh, you're talking about
Yep,
the different plotches. Okay.
yep.
The rest of them are just kind of solid one color?
Yeah, and we can figure out. It shouldn't be that big a deal to update it to nature. We can ask about that.
Okay. It is recommended that the Board of Park Commissioners recommend approval of the proposed playground designs for Bluestem, Eagle Cliff, Northeast Lions, and Sutton Place Park playgrounds. Do I have a motion to accept?
I so move.
Second? Mark, Nanny, thank you. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Next item, Norman Forward update.
You saw the biggest portion of our updates right there. Those are the playgrounds. Bluestem, we're hoping to start construction on that here pretty soon. All these will take, we're going to take them. They didn't make it on this council agenda. We're still waiting for the contracts and bonds for all those. So those would be on the last one of the of February. So once we get those orders in and sign contracts, so it should take about 90 days to get those in, and probably another 90 days to construct. So we're probably looking anywhere between 3 to 5 to 6 months to get those are installed and open and ready to go. Saxon, we're still waiting on the street to be built by Public Works right in front of, or through Saxon Park to get that out to bid. We plan on throwing that out to bid about 90 days before their estimated completion date of the street, so that would give us about 30 days to bid. Then another 30 to 60 days, 30 days to take it through council, and another 30 days for them to mobilize. So it'd be pretty good timing on Saxon Park. So still a few months out from starting that process, and still working on actually starting to see progress on our Canadian River Nature Park. We've had a few conversations with landowners, and we hope in the next couple months start that process. And once we get that across or started, or have land designated for that, we can put out a RFP for designers. And it's pretty nice because that one is officially our last big project in Norman Forward, and then we get to hopefully start all this craziness over again.
Any questions on Norman Forward? Item 10, division update. Wade?
Hello. I will say that roof that got broke by that hailstorm was because that was obsolete. We have 2 of those in the entire city built by the same company, Iron Mountain Playground Company? What?
They're not in business.
They're not in business anymore, and
What
it
roof is
broke
talking-
both of them.
The playground
In
is
that
in
one
place.
storm.
Oh, okay.
Because what we would have probably done is taken one from the other one, because it's not used very heavily, but anyways. So let's see, since we skipped January, I'll go ahead and include that kind of over the past month, we've had all the Christmas stuff is down and put away. We've been doing kind of right now, my eyes are a little shot, but from the snowstorm, that I think people kind of remembered. My guys were in Saturday morning at 5 o'clock, clearing snow for a wrestling event at YFAC. And they cleared, it's not your fault, but you're welcome. They cleared for about 2.5 hours till about 7, and then we finally opened up the parking lots and sidewalks so that they could get into YFAC. And then they came in on Sunday to clear all the city hall complex, all while maintaining some of the ECOC, police, the train depot, and a couple other facilities.
The wellness center.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah, good. Yeah, that extra day helped us a lot, because
If we can schedule all winter
storms on the weekends, yes, it was very helpful.
Because there's no cars haven't had a chance to go in and pack it down, and it's easier to move when there's no cars in the
That's
parking
true.
lot.
That is true. So that probably took up several days for prep. You know, we were treating sidewalks before we left on the weekend. And then, you know, it took so long for it to melt, and we kept having cool nights, so it was refreezing. So we were constantly coming up and treating every morning, everywhere where it would melt and refreeze. Finally this week, we cleared off all the additional salt from sidewalks and stuff, and asked street crew to come through and sweep the sidewalk, or sweep the parking lots to get up the remaining salt. So that was quite a bit of a task. We had to replace some sidewalk at Summit Lakes. The playgrounds that y'all just heard about, to save some funding, we go in and demo the old ones. Jeff Chandler, our CPSI, goes in and we try to salvage any parts that we can that may go to other playgrounds. But like Sutton Place, you know, there wasn't really anything for that one. Eagle Cliff, there was a few things that we're going to take off of that. Obviously Blue Stem's new. Northeast Lions, there was nothing really to salvage there. Because it was back in that corner. When we took down one of the slides, there was just, it looks like constant wear from graffiti removal and grinding off bad words and other drawings. So we go in and we pull all the equipment out, which the footings and everything, all that off. And then we have to dig down about 12 inches to get all the drainage and pea gravel and weed fabric, and then we re-level it. And so it's quite the task that we were trying to get done. Because some of the playgrounds, one of them is going back, Eagle Cliff's going back, and Sutton Place is going back exactly where the old ones were. So with that, we're helping with baseball and softball is about to get started up. So we've been working with them over the winter to get a few small projects cleared up for them. With that, we've got several playground repairs that are on, that we've been working on at the tot lot at Reeves with some spring toys. And then we're about to install a new, what's called Spin With Me. It's like a little spinner to replace an old climber at McGeorge Park. A bunch of small things like bench installations, refurbishments, trail maintenance, and working with, to go back to the other, the Monarch thing, we're working with, why can't I think of their name now? What's the, Sierra Club. Clearing some property for them to possibly do a prescribed burn at some point. But we're clearing cedars in the small section at Saxon. So that's what we've been up to for the most part, other than that.
Getting the mowers ready?
What?
Getting the robots ready?
Not yet. Not yet. It's still pretty cold. So I was out at Reeves today because we pulled up a fence and then we backfilled. So we were finishing up kind of that little project. And it's still pretty dormant out there.
What's all the dirt that was hauled in? What's that gonna be used for?
To raise the pond level so that the water will drain to the north through Jimmy Austin instead of going to the south through that behind Field 4 where you probably saw that it was like flooding last year for a couple of times. Yeah. Yeah, so that's just the stockpile, and then we've got a contractor on kind of ready to go when we get enough dirt, because we're pulling that dirt from Saxon for the road build.
Did they put in new electronic
Can you change the flow of the
scoreboards
water?
on
Can you change the
fuels?
flow of the water like that?
So it's not really changing
Is
the
it
floor, it's
11?
blocking it from going.
10 and 11, the west softball fields,
No, okay.
14
the
and
ones that
15,
are,
far east.
yeah.
Southeast side of the pond, correct?
Wait a minute, I'm confused. North. Where Timberdale comes in and.
Yeah, those are, so it starts west to east, it goes 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14, 15.
Right. Are those new boards or did I just overlook those? and all
They
this
might have
stuff?
been
Fix
working
that.
on them.
Oh, so they're
I
excited
know
to
we
get
were
that done
working on a
then.
few of the
Okay.
power supplies to them, but no, those have been there.
And there's been someone surveying.
Through the bottom,
What are
which
they-
we're just trying to convey
out
original
there?
flow.
Where the flags are,
They were at, close to that field that we're talking about.
we've been marking irrigation, because we're about to do some grading work
Okay.
on 12 and 11 softball fields.
Oh, one more question. What are those little things in the pond that sort of,
Those are to help deter the Canadian geese from
those things
living.
are turning into such a mess? The
Yeah.
geese.
You see the mess that they leave.
Oh, that's what I'm talking
Yeah.
about. I'm trying to be delicate. Walking in that park is becoming sort of,
We have tons of
Avoiding
nice
the
water
landfill.
properties that they're more than welcome at, but, you know, you put them on the sports fields and you've got kids diving and it's just not as sanitary as
yeah.
you would hope.
Yeah. It's a mess.
Yeah.
Especially after the snow melted. It was like, oh.
Any other questions for Wade? Okay. Park planning?
Okay, gonna read from James' notes. I think Jason and Wade both mentioned a few projects already, so we've got the playground proposals that came in, and we'll work on getting the papers to the playground companies and get the contract signed and all of that, and get the installations started. At Eagle Cliff, we've paved the rest of the walking trail. We are ordering and replacing park furniture and planning for more trees. Blue Stem, which is the new park that we've talked about, we're going to lay out the walking trails, trees and native plant areas, and then continue on with the rest of the construction of the park in the spring. Colin, our forester, is having some trees planted in several parks. Some replacement, some new. Saxon Park, Jason talked about already, and then Wade also mentioned that we're working with the Sierra Club Red Earth Group to do a controlled burn on the 1 acre patch of prairie, and working with them on future plans for that 1 acre test plot, and hopefully will inform some of our, best practices for prairie management. And Bishop Creek Eco Park, I think I mentioned before, we're doing the hydro seeding there in a few weeks. Downey construction is finishing up. We're gonna have our final walkthrough on Monday. And then we'll start with fencing and furnishings, signs, and then hopefully a grand opening in early spring. Facilities, completed installing piers under the historic house. I feel like maybe we talked about that before. And we're also doing a pollinator and mural project with the firehouse. They also received a grant to do that, so I've done a design and they got the grant, and then we're having a meeting with them to move forward with that next week. And we are preparing an RFQ for an architect to master plan the future at Sooner Theater. And then last thing is we are working together to come up with some maintenance standards for best practices for the native plant areas, all throughout town in the larger prairie areas and the smaller planting beds that you see, and then hopefully work to increase them. That's all I have.
Thank you. Any questions? Thank you. Okay. Recreation.
Probably can't bring as much energy as Michelle, but I'll try. I can't do that. She's amazing though. So we've had a really fun time in recreation. Back in January, we launched a whole new registration software with Rec Technologies. So it's been a really huge benefit for us on the recreation side, just to be able to actually input programs, get our childcare on regular, consistent, forward-facing payment for everybody, and also help for our rental availability and be able to see what's happening at what time. Jason honestly loves the reports now. I'm putting definitely
like
those
getting
words in his mouth. But yeah, so now he's updated on every month.
That
We
was
give
needed.
out a report of every rental that's happening in a park,
Amazing how much
especially
money
those
shows up in
large,
everything, so.
larger
amazing how
ones
much
that
money shows up
really
in everything,
require a
so.
little more attention, and it's beneficial for Wade too. So, yay! Big things coming up for us is. Oh, 2 days? Yeah, 2 days here. We've got Daddy-Daughter Dance, February 7th it's already here at the Young Family Athletic Center. The middle dance, pink dance, is already sold out. We have 100 or so tickets left in the blue dance, that last 7 o'clock dance. And then our 2 o'clock dance, which is the red dance, still has a fair amount of tickets left. That is our sensory dance. So that's the one that has lower lights, lower music, everything's a little softer, so I highly advise it for the young ones or any non-neurotypical children or anything of that nature. That's the one we always recommend, because inevitably we always get the person that's, oh, this is a really loud experience. We offer an option for them at that early dance now. We've got Out of School Fun, which is a giant X on it for our out of school camp at 12th Avenue. It is only February 13th because NPS is now in session on the 16th on President's Day, so we won't have a camp then because there won't be any kids there. Yeah, correct. They also added a few minutes in to help flesh everything out.
And did another day sometime in April.
Correct, yeah, so we won't have an out-of-school camp then either. For our childcare, also, summer camp registration opens up February 17th. Again, this will be all new system for us, so it's a really neat thing to where we can put it out there, and so summer camp is one of our ones that usually fills up fairly quickly. And in this system now, you can call it a fast track, and so once we put it up there, even though you can't register yet, so it'll actually go live February 10th, but you won't be able to actually register, but you can fast track it and fill out all your information beforehand and then submit, and it'll go in and you get a faster registration time rather than going through that whole process in that time frame. So I really like it, if you can't tell. We also have at 12th Avenue Nerf Night. We had a really large one the last time. We had about 40-ish kids and adults come out for Nerf Night. We gave away prizes, raffles, all that good stuff. It was a really cool event to see everybody coming together and playing Nerf Wars games and everything just in the rec center. It's a really neat thing that I like for us to continue here. We've started the hiring process for the Westwood Family Aquatic Center. Summer's practically here. So if you know any lifeguards, if you know anybody that needs a summer job, tell them to apply. We're always hiring there. And then we have our youth volleyball that is open at Young Family Athletic Center, and that registration's ready. And then we also, on February 16th, will have an open house to encourage membership. It was February 16th because it was out of school. So we're going to pivot, and it's going to be more pickleball, senior-based, and more activities for people to just experience Young Family Athletic Center, and then we'll do a bigger open house later at another time. That's what I've got. Any questions?
But how many tickets to each to the dances? You said the middle one's sold out.
Yeah, 1,250 are assigned
Okay.
to each dance, and there's a little wiggle room in there as we go through, because we do have VIP tickets that aren't included in that final tally.
Were those given to sponsors?
Yes.
Okay. I saw somebody post their VIP tickets
Yeah.
for free to anybody that wanted them, so I was just curious how they got the VIP tickets.
Yeah, so our sponsors get VIP tickets depending on their level of sponsorship, and they'll get a number of tickets with that.
Okay.
And Jason also.
And what?
He gets VIP tickets too.
Oh, Jason gets You mean I can't get tickets for the middle dance now?
So I always tell that's one of my favorite times was 4 years ago. We had a 81-ish old dad and a 60-year-old daughter come to the dance, and that was just my favorite instance. I thought they were there for another event at the Embassy Suites where we were having it. So I try to help them. They're like, "Oh no, where do we scan our tickets?" "Oh, you're coming right with me. You're going straight to the front. Come on, let's go."
Is lifeguard shortage still a thing?
So not particularly. Lifeguard shortage was always it's more of just a challenge at all times with working with high school and college kids and their schedules. So essentially, there's not a shortage per se, but there's a need to always have lifeguards. We're always looking. Yeah. Yes.
There's the lifeguard training too, right?
So yes, we do lifeguard certifications. We do junior lifeguard. Fantastic, great. And we also have TASP, which is the Teen Aquatic Safety Program. And so that's for kids 13 to 15, if they want to be there not supervised by adult, they have to go through that program, and that's how they can be admitted without an adult present there. Great. Take one step back.
Any other questions? Okay, update regarding commission, this is you too. Update regarding the Commission for Accreditation of Park and Recreation Agencies, CAPRA.
All right, so update on CAPRA, we've made a lot of progress with it. CAPRA in itself is a beast. It is a lot of work. There's those 10 chapters. We've made a lot of progress identifying each plan. So what I'm going to talk to you about right now is there's approximately, if I can remember right, 9 to 10 plans involved with it, and so that's where a document like our master plan that we brought before you, that's required within CAPRA. So luckily, we've already done that one. That's the biggest one, the hardest one, the one that's the most comprehensive, so that is a huge check mark off of this. But we've gone through all the chapters, identified the biggest needs of them, and started, each one of our section leaders have started on those plans and have made almost completed quite a few of them. The one that I can talk about the most is our recreation plan. That goes through everything from recreation data trend analysis up to policies and how we view our essential programming versus paid programming, and it will break down everything included with that, and that will be brought before you guys as well. And so we've made a big chunk into our HR section as well. So this isn't just parks involved, because CAPRA is for all park-based, what am I looking for? What word am I looking for here? Park-based entities. There it is. So park districts, park counties, military-based recreation, all of those can apply for CAPRA. So there's a lot of things that we still have to follow, but luckily we have an entire HR department that's taking care of that. So we've made big leeways on that, and we've really come a long way. I'm feeling really good about it. We're gonna hit, hopefully by December timeframe is when we're needing to get our entire self-assessment plan going there.
Are these signed off on as you finish them, or it has to all be submitted at the same time?
So it will be submitted all at one time, and our process is we have in our CAPRA section here in our basically shared folder, we have a draft policy or draft of each evidence of compliance that we have, and then we'll go to our review team, and then they will finalize it, and then that's what we'll take and we'll put into the final presentation there.
Has he brought, do y'all know what this CAPRA is? Has he, okay, I just wanted to make sure. I knew I had heard the discussion, I just wanted to make sure everybody else had heard the same thing, okay.
Is there an
National.
external deadline that you're trying to meet with December, or is there sort of a, because you started this on this date, you have to be done by this date for it to count?
Correct, yes. And so the big push is for us to finish it in December to have an on-site visit by January. So once we complete the self-assessment, the CAPRA review team will come, review every document, every single thing we put together, ask questions, make adjustments, everything. Once they approve the self-assessment, they come and have a visit and check to make sure we're doing what we're saying we're doing. So, yeah. Oh, the next big thing we've already planned out. I forgot, didn't say it. Strategic plan. That's going to be the next really big one that we tackle. We've hired an outside consultant to come in and work with our managers and supervisors to develop a strategic plan to tackle the next 3 to 5 years with large departmental, not issues, but things that we want to work on the most.
Well, I think the biggest one is getting that rec program in. The online
Yeah,
has been the biggest.
I'm glad you like it too. Great. All right. Thank you.
Any other questions? Miscellaneous?
I got just a quick thing. I was at a Ward 1 meeting with Councilmember Dave Gandelsbury, and in that meeting, the bicycle park got brought up, and I talked to him afterwards, and he said a lot of the constituents in Ward 1 are really worried about that bicycle park. They just don't feel it's safe for kids. And you know, I got wondering, you know, is there, I've not been over there and I know nothing about doing that kind of stuff on bicycles. I haven't done that since, for many, many decades. But is there, you know, some kind of criteria or organization that sets standards for that kind of thing? I mean, when you look at the skate park, it seems to me, you know, I've seen skate parks all over, they all seem to have the same kind of uniform size and structure, and so there is this continuity, but the bicycle park, I'm just wondering, you know, is it something maybe we should be thinking a little bit more about, or I don't know what, but it just seems like it might be a problem.
What is the bicycle park and where is it? It's on First.
Creekside Bike Park. Didn't we talk about that a couple months back? And
I might have missed that.
maybe so. James brought it, and I mean, it's all,
So
everything's posted, use at your own risk.
yeah,
I mean, there's a lot of-
there's a set of rules and outlines, and every so often, the original contractor that helped us put it in, and I think it's American Bike Company, that puts it in, comes in and goes through there, and we make sure that we're repacking in dirts around the slides, make sure that the slopes and standards are there, and maintenance is constantly out there, making sure everything that is within reason or within of original specs of how it was installed. But I think the biggest thing is that I would tell constituents, it's an opportunity, and there are certain age parameters that you would probably, you know, first of all, we don't want older people probably out there going out there, like your senior citizens trying to go up a pike. Same thing with the smaller kids. We want to make sure that people that are using those understand there are a risk. I think those risks are clearly defined in the signage out there, and also too, you need to understand your own abilities before you start to use it. But besides that, I mean, we haven't heard a whole lot of internal complaints or anything coming from the public. So if people are having problems or worries about it, please feel free to reach out to us, and we'll definitely look into that. And it's just kind of like everything else in our park system. If you see something or something is needs maintenance, or if a place needs trash, or if a amenity is broken, or you feel like it's unsafe, please feel free to reach out to us and we'll go out there and check on it. Eyes and ears, so we have about 70 parks. We depend on people telling us exactly what's going on or if they see something, because we're not out in every park every day like some of our neighbors are.
I think having, hearing you say there's a contract with the American Bicycle Company, somebody that's building this.
There's eyes on it.
Kind of something, that was designed, in the back lot. of the
Oh,
city.
yeah. No.
There was a designer that came along with it, so.
And we worked on clearing up some maintenance items because what happens when they build this bike park
Yeah,
is they essentially use red clay
yeah.
to build up and form these mounds. And obviously red clay and Oklahoma rainstorms don't always mix.
Yeah.
So we've tried to adjust, because at first, I think they sodded the sides of the slopes, but we have no irrigation out there. So the sod didn't take. So what we tried to do the past 2 years is change our mow methods to where we allow that vegetation to grow up a little bit. So at certain times it can look slightly unkept. We try to just whip it at like 6 inches.
Yeah.
Every other time we go by to do our normal mowing maintenance in some of those areas, just to help that establish and keep from that erosion off the sides. And then we're gonna do some work on some of the bigger ramps where we had some of the steeper inclines here shortly. It's on our list to go through, and we're gonna try to add some lime material to it to make that area kind of hydrophobic so that when it does rain, it'll wash off and not erode away as much. So we've got a couple of those things. It's on our kind of winter project list. Our goal is to have that stuff done by the time of spring. And I say that's probably 75 tomorrow, but our goal is to have that done as those days start to roll on and stuff.
And Colin, our forester, had a work day out there in the fall, I think, to pack, fill some of the holes along the trail through the woods. And he's trying to work with the, cyclist community, get people interested.
Okay.
Put they're there more and see more stuff, and they can help be a part of, keeping it in good shape.
And I'm sure if you're just driving by, because that has 2 main roads, and you're
Yeah.
seeing these kids going, well, I'm saying kids. but,
In red dirt, and you're thinking
in
they're just
red
out there in
dirt,
the,
It probably does look dangerous, but,
Mhm.
I mean, I drive by there all the time, so.
No.
There are different skill levels of
Yes.
MR. There's one that's just it's a pretty good sized jump. I wouldn't want to go off of it, but there's kind of like there's like a high level one, and there's a medium, and there's one where you just kind of roll off the hill. And so those are MRs with their skill level.
yeah. I mean, it's kind of no different than a toddler going up and climbing up a big slide and falling off the back of a slide. I mean, the risk is, it's.
There's a thing that our attorneys refer to as applied risk, and that's one of the things is, same with the skate park or any of our playground equipment. There's an applied risk that goes along with it, but we also have tort claim limits and things like that that cities have, so.
If the equipment's faulty, yeah, we need to get it taken
Well,
care of.
that was
but
more
it's-
my concern by the way it was being described to me. It was sort of, getting these images of this sort of, homemade designs that,
Like the skate park used to be.
Yeah, and it just makes me feel better that contractors involved have some experience in this.
Any other miscellaneous? Anybody want have anything to say? And since we have no public comment, we're adjourned.
I feel like I got